Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Today I have an opportunity to work on a very large Saltist reel from Daiwa, and this has a level wind feature on it. It's the 40. It's the 40A Daiwa reel, and well, we're going to take this apart, service it, and make sure that well, it needs to do what it can do so that Nick can keep this reel fishing. I did notice in the testing there's a little bit of a noise there. Not sure if the oil is going to be able to solve for that, or whether we're going to need to replace the bearing, but we'll get started. We're going to get started by removing the exterior pieces and parts, and that starts with removing the handle and the handle assembly with the star adjuster and the like. And while I do that, I want to encourage you to subscribe to my channel if you like fishing reel service and repair, and well, if you'd like to learn a little bit about the reels and how they kept fishing, then this is a channel that you will enjoy. Alright, we've removed the retention screw. Now I can remove the cap. If you have a pen wrench and do not have a Daiwa wrench, this pen wrench will work on that handle nut. This is, well, unusual. I don't believe that's the original piece for this reel, but it's there, and it probably is a shim for this, which appears to be an aftermarket handle. So I'll just let that kind of be what it is. We're going to remove this now. You're going to do that in a counterclockwise manner. And then this is a good place to remind you to take pictures as you're doing the service on a reel. I'm taking pictures with my video camera, but pictures are always a good thing when you start removing a lot of pieces and parts, and this reel does have a lot of pieces and parts, and that will help to save you should you forget the sequence or the position of a particular part. Inside the noisemaker, a little clicker, there is a flat washer. Then we have a couple of tension washers on here. We may or may not be able to get those out right now, but if you can, that's fine. If you can't, just leave it. When you remove the case, they will come out. But there's usually two of these or more. I think we'll just kind of leave those for now. Oh, we got one of them coming out. So these washers are not flat washers. They are concave or convex. I'm always never sure what the right term is, but there's a bow in them. Don't straighten them out. They're for providing tension to your star adjuster, a little bit of flexibility in terms of how hard or how easy it is for you to turn that adjuster to bring the drags into engagement. I'm still working on this one. I probably should have just left it go. That's alright, but at any rate, take the pictures. You'll be happy you did, even if it's only once in a long time. Alright, we're going to remove the side case now. To do that, we want to check to make sure there aren't any screws in the back. Looks like we have 5 screws around the outside, and those 5 screws around the outside are flathead screws. When I take my screws out, I want to lay them on my table to make sure they're all the same size. Daiwa, among others, is one of these manufacturers that likes to put an oddball screw somewhere in the case. And if that happens, just stop, take a look, make sure that you know what the position is of the longer or the shorter screw, and make sure you put it back there. So far they're the same. I kind of work in a random order here. If you work in a circle order, sometimes the case starts to spring ahead of where you would like it to. So take your time. Just make sure you get them all out, and make sure that you've identified any ones that may be different. That's 3. 2 more. I'm going to hold the pressure on the case now because these will start to move out. The Daiwa Saltist line is both conventional reels, level wind reels, and spinning reels. The Saltist is very popular. It's been around about 10 years now in terms of release. I was just working on a Saltist 4500 spinning reel the other day, and that was released in 2016. So they've been out there, and they're good reels. I oftentimes get asked, what's the good reels that Daiwa makes? Well, most of them are. And the Saltist ranks among them. Okay, all 5 of those screws are the same. So when I remove those, I'm going to put those into a parts tray. That's where I've been putting all those pieces and parts. And that helps me to keep them separate so that when it's time to reinstall, I know where they are. This should lift up and off now. And we can see this reel hasn't been serviced in quite some time. There's a lot of old grease in here, a lot of dirt and debris, and well, a lot of what you do in terms of servicing a reel is making sure that the parts are cleaned and that they do not need to be replaced because of damage or wear. I've removed those 2 yoke springs right away. Those always get in the way and they seem to shoot if you're not paying attention. And I like to put those right into the parts tray. I'm going to use some penetrating oil now, just to kind of loosen the case grease so that I can clean it up. This is the inner sleeve for the anti-reverse. You want to pull that sleeve up and off to remove that. Note on this, when you do take it off, there's a recess side here. It goes down about 1/8 of an inch, and this top side is flat. Every now and then I get asked that question, which one is up and which one is down. Next up then, let's remove these washers. Sometimes you can pull that main gear out, sometimes it's more stubborn. Let's see what we can do here. There we go, we can remove that. When we remove that, the anti-reverse backup, the fingered dog, just came off, so we'll show you how to reinstall that. And you can see, generally speaking, this one just has not been serviced in a very long time. It's got a lot of dirt and debris in it. We'll take care of that. Okay. That was a good place to take a picture before we started pulling all of this stuff off. Fortunately, I have a good idea of that. Now, these screws look like they're rusted. I'm not sure we'll be able to get under there. Let's reset this piece here. I'm going to put these 2 pieces right there because they're going to get cleaned up in a hurry. So I'll leave them on my table. I'm going to just see if these can move. If they can't move, we're going to just work around it. This one can move. Let's make sure the other one can move. Yeah. All right. So you want to remove this because there is a bearing under this shield. And if you have access to that bearing, you certainly want to take care of that. Remove it and oil it. This reel was making some noise. So I'm going to use a WD-40 or a penetrating oil on this just because there seems to be a lot of dirt in that bearing, and I've been hearing bearing noises in the reel. So we're going to clean under here. I'm going to clean all of the greases off the case as well. And I'm using a cotton swab for that. And old greases carry a lot of dirt and debris with them, so you certainly want to make sure that you remove those. Not only is it just the obvious stuff, worn greases that have been thrown off the gears, but a lot of times it's micro salts, micro sands that evaporate and then adhere to the grease like it was a glue. And if that's the case, well, that's problematic, and you certainly don't want to leave that stuff inside a reel where it can become abrasive and kind of wear it down. Okay, we've cleaned off the axle shaft. We're going to flood that bearing with oil now. Okay, before we start that reassembly, it's a good time now to service the pawl, because in order to service that pawl, you need to remove the shaft that runs underneath, and with that bridge out, you can do that. So let's just remove that, and we'll come over, grab a screwdriver to loosen the cap. Be careful, these are plastic caps, they do snap, and they're on plastic threads, so if you're not careful in terms of how you set that up, there's a good chance that it may break. Grab it with the pliers or pull it out otherwise. And you want to inspect this pawl now. You want to clean the shoulders. This one, like the rest of the reel, is very dirty on the shoulders. And that's going to inhibit it going back and forth. You can see the old dirt and grease in here. So clean that off before you reinstall. Check the points on the pole to make sure that those work, that they're equal. They are. And then you can put a shot of oil into the inner cap before reinstalling. Make sure that the inner or the foot of that pawl is flush before you put the cap on. And with the cap, start it with your hands so that you can feel that the threads are working properly and that you're not cross-stripping them. Because again, if you cross-strip them, you may ruin that line guide and have to go get another one. And then just snug that cap up. Take your bar, replace that, and now we can rebuild the other side of this reel. Okay, let's start with the shield. We want to get some grease onto the shaft here. You want to find the side on this that has the tapered insets for the screws. Align the two, bring them over, seat them into the bearing. And over the studs. So that's how that goes, and then we'll grab the two screws to put this back in. Well, if you have any questions on this reel or any reel, maybe you're working on one and you have a question about it, maybe you're thinking of buying one, whatever, if you leave those questions in the comments section, I will try to answer those for you. Take the other screw and put that in, and we'll tie down that bridge then. So this screw is steel, that's why it's rusting. That always bothers me a little bit, but it's how they designed the reel. Okay, next up is the pawl. Just wipe off the old grease. Check the ramps. There's a side of this that has an angular side facing up. That goes to the inside of the reel. You want to grease the yoke. The side of the, with the slot, is the same side as the ramps. Grease your pinion gear. And then it installs over the jack. So clean that jack off. We've done a little bit of that already. Get some grease onto the back. And now we turn that around so that the slot faces over the stud. And you can pull up on that. Take your yoke assembly, bring that over the shaft, turn that so that it locks into the spool. Then you have the two washers that go over the post. That's so that the yoke springs don't trap in the yoke itself. So there's two small washers. If you were wondering where they came from, that's where they came from. Next up we have the click ratchet, which we've cleaned, the anti-reverse dog backup. This is a traditional finger jointed dog. So the finger joint splits the click ratchet. That click ratchet has a square center. So when you go to load this, bring it over the post, line it up with the stud, and then rotate your click ratchet so that it seats firmly onto the shaft. With your drag washers, you have a hard washer next. Put that on, and then you can see how that click ratchet works. When you are reeling your reel, it backs off, and then when you go to back off the reel, you can see how it pulls that in. That's your anti-reverse. We've cleaned that gear, we've inspected it. Now it's time to lubricate it. We're going to use fishing reel grease. Please use fishing reel grease when you're servicing a reel. Don't use regular household greases or automotive greases or other things. These are designed for marine usage and for fishing reels in particular, and that's all I recommend that you use. Take the greased section of the main gear, bring that down, make sure that it locks in with your pinion gear, locks onto the shaft, and now we can service the drag washers. These drag washers are Carbon-Tex washers, so you do not need to put any lubrication on them. Simply check to make sure that the cross hatching is all good. If it was worn, you would replace that. These are in good condition. First one goes in, and then the first of what's called the keyed washers going. Now that's the thin one. There's one that's going to be thicker that goes up top. Thin one goes on first. Again, check the cross hatching on the washers, and then the second one is an eared washer. They have the tabs on them, and those tabs fit into the slot. Here's your third one. Again, check that. And then this is the thicker one. And this one has an indent on one side and a raised part on the other. The raised part faces up. Now we can take the inner sleeve for your anti-reverse drive. Push it down until it seats. And then, well, other than the two springs for the yoke, the service on this side is done. You'll notice that we have a slot in the jack itself, right here. That slot has got to merge with the stud here. So bring the stud up. That's how you're going to load your case. You have the anti-reverse clutch in here. You do not oil the anti-reverse clutch. You simply make sure that it is clean. That's a friction device. You can put a drop of oil onto the lever eccentric. Let's turn this over, bring this up, align your pieces. And now you might have a gap there. Let's flip your switch to make sure that you get into the jack. That should pull the case tight. If the case is not tight, chances are that the stud on the lever did not mesh. Just to check, pull it to the free spool position, spin your spool, put it into the engaged position, make sure that your handle is turning, and that's exactly what it should be doing. This is a good time to put a couple of screws in here to tighten up the case. You want to hold tension on it until such time as you can seat those screws. Again, that's a flat-bladed screwdriver that you're going to be using here. I'll start on the top. And I'm going to go kind of haphazard. I'm going to go top, bottom, right, bottom, left. That'll keep equal pressure on the case so that it doesn't get tripped up there. Just checking. It didn't seem like the screw was grabbing. We'll come over to the other side through this one, and then we got two more to do. Well, I hope you're enjoying these. Again, I would encourage you to subscribe if you like these kinds of videos. If you're still with me, it kind of suggests that you do like this. So please subscribe and hit that notification button. That will let you know when I'm posting. I post frequently on all types of fishing reels. So this one is a saltwater level line reel, or a big catfish reel, or a deep lake reel. Tomorrow it might be a vintage bait casting reel, or it might be a low profile bait casting reel. It's a current line offering from a manufacturer. Got one more to do. Bring that over. Tighten that down. Then we can move on, set the rest of that star adjuster up. And I really do want to find out what's going on the other side here. We have a noisy bearing. I'm going to see if we can't use some wire or something to clean that up a little bit. We have a bearing that comes next. That's a shielded bearing. Let's get that on the shaft, and then you can put a drop of oil on there. Your shielded bearing will absorb the oil. And we have a flat washer that's the bearing shield, kind of protector, if you will. Then we have those two we were kind of knocking around with. They are bent washers. I have the bend facing up, so that it kind of looks like it's cupped going up on the first. And I reverse it for the second, where the cup is facing down. There's no right or wrong way to do it. As I mentioned, it's kind of adjustable. That seems to be the factory setting. Then we have our noisemaker, and inside that noisemaker there is a flat washer. Make sure that all of that gets down. Next up then would be the star adjuster. And just like we were doing with that pole cap cover, make sure that this goes on free and easy. If it's not going on easy, you want to stop right away and make sure that you check it to make sure that you got that right. It seems to be right, just a little tight, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the handle now, use that as a wrench to hold the shaft while I bring the adjuster down. At some point we will hear that noisemaker or the clicker engage. If it doesn't engage, then you certainly want to work around it. There we go. Sometimes that little point on the spring does trap. If that's the case, you will certainly want to avoid that. Okay, we had the big leverage side on this one, so we'll bring that all the way out. Oh, they had this spacer, so I'm thinking this spacer is probably designed for this particular handle, or maybe when they did this handle, they realized there was some play in it. Put that spacer in there, so that's okay. Just kind of reinstall it as you found it. Same thing here on the cap that's going to be the nut cap for the handle. Make sure that that goes on square as well. And as I mentioned, if you have a pen wrench, the pen wrench will work on this as well. I use an aftermarket wrench, but this pen wrench here, the old standard pen wrench, will fit that cap. Okay, let's tighten that up. Make sure that your adjusters are down. Well, so far we've done everything on the gear side. We've showed you how to take the reel apart, how to service it, how to inspect the pieces and parts, make sure that they're cleaned, re-lubricate them, and then reinstall. We've got one set left, and that's the non-gear side. So we want to work on that. That's the one where I'm hearing a noisy bearing. And we're going to see if the oils can do it or if something else is going to be in the way. To remove the non-handle side, there's a couple of screws. Again, these are flat bladed. You want to do the same thing you did on the first side. Take them all out. Check to make sure they're all the same size. So far they are. I have no reason to believe they won't be, but you know what they say about assume. As soon as you start assuming something, well, that's when you find out that your assumption was wrong. Okay, those three screws are the same. I'm going to leave them right there because we won't be long with this. We have a lot of dirt on this side. Do the same cleanup here. Just testing that bearing. Okay, so the camera was off for a while. I did try that back bearing. It seemed to be better, but I noticed that the spool bearing was frozen on the shaft. You can see it's in pieces and parts here, but it was frozen on the shaft, and we replaced that. And as a result, we've got a much smoother running reel now with that bearing replaced. So sometimes just a little bit of knowledge and a little bit of understanding, as well as some good reel maintenance will keep these things going. Just need to know what you're looking for, or maybe a sensitive ear. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that. To our first responders and essential personnel, thank you for all it is that you do in the interest of public safety. Police, fire, rescue, EMT, and the like, thank you. And well, I hope you've enjoyed this. Again, one more time, I'll ask you to subscribe to my channel if you do like these. And if you do like it, indicate that on the in the comment section. If you have any questions, please leave them there. Well, this is a good example of getting your reels tuned up before the season starts. I'd hate to have taken that out on the water and have something snag up on you because of the bearings. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, wishing everybody a great day. Thanks for watching.